really personal too. I think Peele's mature enough, like he won't come out and say anything because he really hasn't confirmed or denied it. I think if it was patently false, he would have come out and denied it. But he hasn't. I don't think he'll ever talk about it though, especially not with the money this thing's making. But Barbarian was made for like $4 million or something like that. It really wasn't a lot of money at all. And then to see this one, I think the script ultimately sold for $38 million. Kreger got the carte blanche treatment of this thing to make it how he wanted it to be. As you mentioned too, I didn't even really know. I wasn't following the cast. I just followed the bidding war initially, and then I was like, I really don't want to hear anything else about it.
Yeah.
I saw that Brian Tyree Henry, Oscar nominated from the movie Causeway, he was supposed to be the principal. That role went to Benedict Wong. Josh Brolin's role of Archer was supposed to go to Pedro Pascal. So there was a lot of turnover in the cast too, which had to be stressful and might, normally would kill a movie in some ways too, in terms of quality. But this when a script is so good it makes Jordan Peele incensed that he couldn't get his hands on it, you can't help but be intrigued. So Zach Kreger's Weapons arrives with a lot of hype, and again, Catherine and I went in completely blind, never even saw a trailer. What we knew was based on the poster because we saw the poster, and the
Yeah.
poster's got that very classical design of like giving you a brief synopsis of the movie in the poster, because the poster reads, last night at 2:17 a.m. every child from Mrs. Gandy's class woke up, got out of bed, went downstairs, opened the front door, walked into the dark, and they never came back. One thing I did notice though is she's Mrs. Gandy in in the poster, but she's not married, which is
Yeah.
interesting. Which is, I think even Catherine pointed out, they're like, they refer to her as Mrs. Gandy. I'm like, yeah, she's not married though. That's weird. Anyway, I thought it was Ms. at first, but it's not. But anyway,
Zach Craig gonna see this years later and be like, damn it.
but what this is it's to give a brief overview. It's a multi-character mystery horror movie. It's done in the same vein as like Magnolia, Seven Samurai, where it gives you multiple perspectives on the same event. So you already know the generalities of like all but one kid from Mrs. Gandy, played by Julia Garner. Her class got up in the middle of the night and ran outside of their home. Nobody knows where they went. They all ran in the same weird sort of T-formed position, and the only footage that was captured was a lot of Ring doorbells and stuff like that. It stumped the cops. It's not evident enough that it was a kidnapping because the kids left the home on their own volition. And what you get then is you get six perspectives on the same event. You get Justine, Mrs. Gandy, played by Julia Garner, the teacher. You get Archer, Josh Brolin, the parent of one son who went missing. You then get Paul, a cop who's friends with Mrs. Gandy, played by Alden Ehrenreich. You get Austin Abrams, James, who's a junkie. You get the principal, Marcus, played by Benedict Wong. And then you get Alex, played very valiantly, new coming actor, played by
Harry
Terry
Christopher.
Christopher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get those are your six perspectives over the course of 2 hours. Also, too, sidebar, Ari Aster, take a cue from Zach Kreger, who could have made this movie over 3 hours if he wanted to. He had full reign to do so. And I think I read that the original cut of this movie was 3.5 hours.
Oh
And
my God.
they dice the shit out of it in favor of pacing. Little note to Ari Aster, that is possible. But anyway, Zach Kreger, though, gives you sort of sets the table for this big mystery. This movie is very comparable, I would say, to like beyond structurally, which is it's very similar, like I said, to Magnolia, Seven Samurai, multiple perspectives, interconnected characters and stuff. Chapters end at a climactic point and then come back, and then you see the characters interact at those specific scenes. It's very tactful the way it's done and doesn't leave any threads hanging. But the other piece of this too that I think is really intriguing is that it's similar tonally and plot wise to like movies like Hereditary and Longlegs, where
Yeah.
you have this mystery that stumps authorities and immediately makes you intrigued because it's like, well, if the cops can't figure this out and they have no DNA, they got nothing to go off of, it immediately makes you lean in. And that's what this whole movie does. It's hilarious at times, which is funny. Kreger obviously has a background in comedy with The Whitest Kids You Know. We'll talk a little bit more about Trevor Moore, who this movie is very coded for, the late great Trevor Moore. Um, it's hilarious. It's sprawling. It's ominous. It's dreadful in a good way. It's beautiful in strange ways, and it's just really a fascinating, ambitious work that sort of remarkably comes together into a cohesive project. That's how I'll start.
Yeah. For me, there's a moment in Barbarian where it's building up to
live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever. It's Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube. We come to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening, 6:30 Central Time. Joe has to be very, very, very careful how he sits. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the bottom of the screen, that B in bumpin' can very much look like an H, a lowercase h. Gotta be very careful. I was almost gonna say something when the show was counting down to start. I'm like, you gotta be very careful the way you sit. You didn't know where I was going, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't know where you were going with that at all. Anyways, I'll just throw this on real quick and just
What is that shirt a reference to?
Charlie XCX.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see it now. I see it
Yeah.
now.
I get it now. Okay. I get it. Okay.
I went to one of her shows and I just wanted to get a shirt just because like I wanted to like be presentable at the concert and everything because everybody was going with something brat color, so I was like, all right, let me do that too. And now it's a pajama shirt that looks like I'm humping that.
That took me a second when you were counting down. I was like,
Although,
wait.
you know what? Keeping it as a pajama shirt might be worse, because, yeah, if it's, like, wrinkled and everything, the person might see me, like, walking into the room. Like, if I'm on a vacation and I'm, like, in an Airbnb with friends, they're gonna see me walk into a room with a shirt that might look like humping that, humping that, humping that.
It is good to see you, Joe. It's good to see you, Dom. Back again after a week off. We tackled Zach Kreger's Weapons in your absence, made a couple of good references to Whitest Kids You Know in your absence,
Thank you.
however. You know what? I saw the clip. I hadn't seen this probably in 10 or 12 years. I saw the clip I don't know. I know you probably were more exposed to whitest kids than me. Um, even though I kind of ironically grew like had the channel growing up, IFC. But you know what clip I saw, and I've showed it. I showed it to a few people. Is the opposite day clip in the courtroom.
That's one of my favorites.
Mr. Lawyerstein. That's a great. I've been walking around the apartment all week being like the Trevor Moore's line delivery of all right, now we're gonna do court my way.
The lawyer scene
Lawyerstein
way.
way. Goddamn great show. Anyway, we tackled weapons last week. Clearly it's still on the forefront of my mind. But today we are talking Freakier Friday. The month of August is weird. It is so weird this month. Before we dive into this and stuff like that, I just want to say briefly, like, there's so many weird releases this month. This is like the odds and ends month. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with what's been playing at your local movie theaters, but out here, I've never seen it. I've never seen it so busy, so diverse, and so fleeting. Um, I've missed. There's so many movies coming out right now, small movies that I have missed a couple. Like Americana was out for 6 days at the AMC out here. It's gone tomorrow. East of Wall, which me and Catherine and I did end up seeing. That came out 6 days, gone tomorrow. Jimmy and Stiggs, produced by Eli Roth. That's 6 days, gone tomorrow. Sketch, the Angel Studios movie, here for 13 days, gone tomorrow. There's three. This weekend, we got 40-Year-Old Virgin re-release, Trainwreck re-release, some Riz Ahmed movie called Relay, which looks, the critics are raving in calling Relay okay. And then there's something else that's also out this week, too. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Hell House LLC. It's just the most random catch-all month that everything is like getting stuffed to the point where this shit is just coming out and then disappearing, and like tens of people are seeing that. And I have no idea how this is sustainable or logical on studio ends. But be that as it may, next week on the show we're kind of doubling back and tackling Hard Truths, the Marion Jean-Baptiste critically acclaimed Mike Leigh film from last year. We're going to be tackling that. Dom and Joe will be absent, but we will be tackling that next week, since there really is just, I mean, I feel bad. I wouldn't even mind reviewing East of Wall, but I think that I don't know if you guys will be able to see it this coming weekend because I don't think it's out anymore. You know, it's just the way it is. I've never seen a movie month like this where there's 3 new releases that are here for 6 days and then they're gone. I've never seen that. But at any rate, though, we got a good show for you today for Freakier Friday. But first things first, I want to ask you, Dom, you were gone last week. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing hey, okay. It's the end of summer, closing weeks of summer, and it just flew by, which is in some ways good because that means I utilized it well. Work is still dominating, but for the most part, I was able to actually. That's the thing with like being an adult and versus being in school is that like the thing with school, particularly grade school and high school, right? Your day is regimented for you more or less. So you get to see everyone for like 4 years, 8 years or whatever. And it's just done for you. When you're an adult, you got to actually like sit down and schedule that shit.
Mhm.
And it's really difficult to do. It's honestly like this show where you actually need to like, I need this on my calendar and I need to dedicate an hour and a half, for this show, and then another 2 hours to actually watch the movie. That is a weekly affirmation. If I arrive to the show and I watch the movie, that is a weekly effort on all 3 of ours parts. And obviously, we enjoy doing this. This isn't like a trudge or anything, but you still got to work for it. And that's just, again, this is all obvious, but just hearing it out loud is a reminder for myself.
It's so good to see you, man. Grateful that you still make the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Steve. It's absolutely fantastic. And for me, oh, okay, there he is. I was gonna launch into a whole nother monologue just to buy time.
I apologize about that. I'm trying.
No,
I'm
it's okay.
trying. I'm trying to actually see. I haven't used it in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to see if this USB adapter works. If it shits out one more time, it clearly doesn't. But it's good to
Okay.
have you, and I gratefully appreciate your time and still prioritizing this show because you got a ton of shit going on. Giuseppe, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Not much different from last week. Just still doing good. Our softball season is about to start, so I'm excited for that. And I have some people coming out of town to visit next week, which is why I won't be here next week. I thought they were arriving on Thursday, but then I realized I had the dates mixed up, or the dates with the days mixed up, and I realized, oh, it's a whole day earlier, so I actually can't be out here, or I can't be on the show next week, which is unfortunate because hearing you talk about hard truths and everything, I'm like, damn, like, he really wants us to review this, and this sounds interesting. And then, not that I'm gonna completely miss it. Like, I'll try to see it on my own and everything because you've built it up for quite some time now. But it just sucks that I'm gonna miss the discussion on it in general. That's the worst part too. Is the weeks that I don't come to Sleepless because of my job, which are the first Wednesdays of every month. It sucks because I'll still go see the movie you guys are reviewing, like Naked Gun, for instance. And it's just, I have to just miss out on that conversation. What was another one too? Lilo and Stitch, I think was another one as well. Like, I just missed out on talking with you guys, and I think that would have been fun to talk about it because we could have talked about Disney animation in general, especially that film at that time. Yeah, there's just plenty of them I could choose from that I'm like, damn, I really want to talk about this with you guys. I think
Monologue.
No, Dogman I was there for.
Dogman, you were there for.
Yeah.
Monologue in the shower. That's my piece of advice.
There we go. Yeah, I can only type
like you can just do what I do, which is that listen to a playback of just Joe and Steve, and then where I would cut in, just pause, and then no, that's the ramblings of an insane man.
Nah, my mom walks in on me doing that. She's gonna call she's gonna call the Elgin Mental Hospital and be like, hey, I need you to come get my son. But what was I gonna say? I mean, the only thing I think I was gonna bring up was I forgot. Great. I got so distracted about everything else I was talking about. I'm excited to talk about this movie though. Not that I think like it's gonna be engaging, but I really want to know what you guys thought of it because I've seen it go both ways with this movie, and I'm curious to see where everybody here is gonna end up on the sides of this movie and everything. So I'm looking forward to the show.
I'm going to start it off really simply. Freakier Friday is the sequel to Freaky Friday from 2003. Hard to believe that movie's over 20 years old already. Movie's 22 years old. It's the reuniting of Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis from the original film. But I'm going to keep it brief and just ask this. I'll go Dom, then Joe. What's your relationship to the 2003 Freaky Friday movie? Or just for the record, if you want to be one of those people, because you would beat me on this. I mean, technically I haven't seen Freaky Friday to completion, the 2003 movie, shockingly. But if you have any relation to the 1976 Gary Nelson movie or the 1995 TV movie, by Melanie Mayron. If you have a relationship to those movies too, I would absolutely love to hear it. But what's your relationship to the 2003 Freaky Friday, Dom?
Absolutely nothing, because you've watched this. You've watched, even though you haven't finished it, you've watched more than me, because I have not watched the original Freaky Friday, or I should say the original Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis one, or any of them. But I do still feel like I've watched the movie simply because it's a plot point. I feel like in every other TV show for teens or kids, where they swap, if not bodies, just places in general. Or maybe I'm just thinking of all the iCarly fan fiction I read when I was a teenager. But either way, it's a classic kind of situation, fantastical situation for these characters to be in. And the only thing I have read about the originals is that the 70s Disney one, right? 70s, Jodie Foster was involved. She was the kid. And she was slated to be Lindsay Lohan's mother in the 2003 movie, but she couldn't. Either she didn't want to or couldn't make that movie out, and they had to use Jamie Lee Curtis, which I think is a better movie because I can't imagine Jodie Foster being in this role. I really can't. That's not a knock on her. It just doesn't feel like her kind of movie.
Sure.
So, but just Jamie Lee Curtis's manic energy when she puts it on is really fun, which I'll get to in the review. But really, nothing much at all. And I kind of enjoyed going into this with fresh eyes, no nostalgia whatsoever, like a true neutral. To answer your question, my one reference point for any of these movies is just the trailer where in the 2003 movie, Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis run at each other. And that's it. That's my one cultural moment right there with that movie.
What about you, Joe?
This is a Disney film I actually do like watching from time to time. I thought as a kid, like I loved it as a kid. And as I got older, I'm like, oh, I bet it's really not that good. I'm like, it's probably like some cliche thing and everything with like, the whole switching places like Dom is saying and everything. Upon rewatching it, it's like, no, this actually has like some fun style to it, and it's actually just a fun movie overall. It's a movie I thought should just be one and done, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, it's a movie I look back kind of fondly, very nostalgic for. Definitely something that when Disney Plus first came out, and you kind of just went, "Oh my god, dude, I can rewatch all these Disney things." Like it was one of the things immediately. It was like Kim Possible, this, a couple of the original Disney Channel movies, and the Proud Family were like, boom, instantly. I'm like throwing these on, just flipping through them and everything. It was funny because like I did all that before I even went to like the new stuff, like The Mandalorian. And I was just like, oh, I'll get to that in just a second. I'm like, dude, there are some Disney classics that I never owned the movie as a kid, and I never got to see it again. Freaky Friday was one of them. Pirates of the Caribbean was another. I only owned the sequels as a kid. Dead Man's Chest and At World's End. Oh, there was one more. Bolt. For some reason, like, I was just like, I was so fat. And I rewatched Bolt. I'm like, all right, this one doesn't hold up. All right, the other two did. 2 out of 3. That's not too bad. Like, still hold up for me as a kid. But yeah.
In the pantheon, for both of you, in the pantheon of Disney Channel original movies, and I know Freaky Friday is not that. It is not a Disney Channel original movie. But if you compared the two, where do you think this is above, below, or right in line with a Disney Channel original movie?
The first one?
The original, the Freaky 2000.
Oh, I think it's above. I think it's above because
It's above.
It's above.
Yeah. I think the style that it has from the director they had and everything. I don't know who honestly directed it. I should probably look all up the information, but like there's some really cool shots. I love the shot of them like being split apart when Lindsay Lohan's in the bathroom and they're both reading the fortune cookie that's gonna eventually make them all whoop. And it's just like, okay, like, it's like shots like that are really cool. And also I do think like the energy of both Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis make it rise above than the acting capabilities. I'm not trying to downplay these people, but the acting capabilities of like Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens in High School Musical, or Joe Jonas and Demi Lovato in Camp Rock. Like, it's just like, or even Halloween Town. It's like, those are fun movies too. It's just, there's a different caliber of acting going on here.
The director of the original Freaky Friday is Mark Waters. This was his first big movie to direct back in 2003. His follow-up movie was Mean Girls.
Oh, wow.
He directed Mean Girls, then went on to direct the Spiderwick Chronicles movie, Mr. Popper's Penguins, and Bad Santa 2, to name a few.
Okay, well, all right. He started strong. All right, good to know.
Yeah, my relationship to the original Freaky Friday was I never saw the ending of it. I recount the story in more detail in my review at stevepulaski.com, but like I don't think I ever talked about it really publicly. But what happened was I went with my buddy, his sister, and his grandma when it came out back in 2003. So that made me 7 years old. And we went and we saw the movie, but about maybe, I want to say 20, 30 minutes before the movie was going to end. And I've never seen this happen ever again in a movie theater. The screen turned like lime green, like that old, the following preview is approved for all audience color. It turned like lime green, had like a red text emergency message on it. And then this intercom voice came on the theater intercom and said, leave the building immediately, for a life-threatening emergency has occurred in the theater. And we left, and my last view of the theater was like 2 or 3 fire trucks pulling up to the theater. I don't know. To this day, I don't know what happened at that theater. And I don't know. I've never seen the ending to Freaky Friday.
That's really funny.
Funny enough. Yeah, I know. Not for the life-threatening emergency part, but just real. That's one of the most, probably the most like unique theater experience I've ever had. And I remember telling somebody about it in college, and somebody's like, "You never saw the original or like the ending of the original Freaky Friday?" And I told them I was like, "Well, where were you on May 7th, 2004?" And they were like, "I don't know." I said, "You know where my ass was at 7 o'clock, parked in front of the TV for the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour? Where were you at? Where your ass was at?"
That's really funny.
Remember the Jimmy Neutron Fairly Odd Parents crossover?
They made a trilogy of those.
Yes, they did, and that shit went platinum in the streets. That was a full blown event, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. Not enough gets talked about what a moment that was in time.
It was,
but it came out a year after Freaky Friday. But yeah, that's my connection to the original Freaky Friday movie too. But this movie has really gone on to be beloved in millennial culture. And I remember liking it. I remember enjoying it as a 7-year-old. And I don't know, it's hard to deny the charm of Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. But I guess my jumping off point is this though, is that the ideal time if we had to get a Freaky Friday sequel probably should have been within 3 to 5 years of the original, but that's what happens now. Hollywood's digging up the bones of everything millennial culture, so this is why we get this movie 22 years later. And I'm going to say this. It's not horrible, but Jamie Lee Curtis is getting older. Lindsay Lohan, for all the problems she has had, it's remarkable that, number one, she, really looks great.
Yeah.
Looks great, has great energy and everything. Is just fun to watch on screen. Jamie Lee Curtis isn't getting any younger. Lindsay Lohan's been through hell and back again. We do not see them in a lot of movies. Hell, I remember when Jamie Lee Curtis retired in 2010 after You Again. I remember that. We didn't get a Jamie Lee performance for about 5-6 years, I want to say. So both Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are in very limited supply these days. I wish it was something other than this. And I don't think this is a bad movie. I really don't. But it just kind of seems like a waste of their talents. It does. And this movie, basically, the conceit of this thing is like the original. It revolves around a big wedding. And what you have now is Tess, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and her daughter, who's now grown, Anna, played by Lindsay Lohan now. She's in her 30s. She's a single mother to Harper, played by Julia Butters. Did I miss something? Did they ever say why she was single? What happened to Harper's dad? Did they ever say anything about that?
Yeah, okay, I was gonna ask you guys the same thing. I was like, am I missing something here? Like the entire time I was doing the family tree in my head, I'm like, I think I missed the piece of critical information. Not that it mattered in the grand scheme of things, but just for the setup at least.
Because I thought she said she wanted to be a single mother of some kind at one point.
It's implied. I think it's just implied it's a divorce. I think that's all it was.
I think so too. I'm like, but I wasn't until like Catherine and I were talking about it after, and I'm writing the review. I'm like, yeah, we never got concretion on that, on what happened. But anyway, Julia Butters plays Lindsay Lohan's character's daughter. Julia Butters was the little girl in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, if you remember that. She was the little girl who was working on set with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's amazing how time flies. Mm-hmm. But essentially then what happens is Anna's going to get married to this restaurateur played by Manny Jacinto, and what happens then is he's got a stepdaughter played by Sophia Hammond's Lily. And what happens then is like there's a double body switch then. So what you have then is you have Anna and Tess, Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis switching bodies. And then hold on, I want to make sure I get this right.
The adults switch with the kids, and the kids switch with the adults.
Yeah, that's what it is. This was a motherfucker to follow for like 30 minutes. This was a motherfucker to follow. Lily ends up in Tess's body. Tess ends up in Lily's body. Anna ends up in her daughter Harper's body, and Harper ends up in Anna's body. That's how that works.
Yeah. The way I remember it is that Lindsay and her daughter are the ones that switch places. And then Jamie Lee Curtis switches places with the British girl.
Yes, the British stepdaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing was a pain in the ass to follow for like 30 minutes because it's like maybe it was always going to be this way, but I feel like it should have been. I don't know. There should have been better visual cues for like who's who, at least in the beginning, to kind of get you acclimated. Because I'm like, I don't know of another movie that did this double body switching thing. Like, I'm like, this is really weird and really kind of challenging to
But
follow.
Steve, how could you not tell who's in who by Jamie Lee Curtis saying words like "oh blimey" and stuff like that, but without the British accent? You should know who's in that body.
If they would have given Jamie Lee Curtis like the British accent, it might have been better. It might have been a little bit more clear. I don't know.
Yeah.
That like it's like it was like asking who's who and who's she for 30 minutes and stuff. And even
Who's
then by
on
the end I
first?
was exactly who I was still trying to figure it out. I guess that's my kind of disorganized rambling so far to start Freakier Friday. What say you, Dom?
Man, I'm really happy that I went in here kind of cold because I am aware of the limited millennial hold that this movie has on its target audience, but frankly, I thought this was just pleasant. I thought this was just fine. Breezy and not too deep, and really fun. This really all hinges on Jamie Lee Curtis, followed by Lindsay Lohan, and like Lohan's doing just fine in my opinion, not bad, but also not like a standout performance. Almost kind of in vain to the kids in that regard. And other than that, it really is just all Jamie Lee Curtis. Not all Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, but the standout what the sequel will be remembered for is is Curtis, of course, and her repertoire with her, or rather, you know what I mean, back and forth with
Yeah.
Lohan. And that's really what makes this movie. Everything else you're just kind of, you are waiting to get back to it, but it's not a slog to get back to it, right? It again, the breeziness of this film makes sense. And there are some jokes in here that will make the three of us jaded assholes, like, oh, okay, sure. They're talking about, oh yeah, because they're older now. Ha ha. They get to enjoy life more by getting hurt and stuff like that. Or Jamie Lee Curtis has a podcast, ha ha ha, whatever. All these classic millennials turned adults kind of thing. But yeah, again, it's not really too bad in there. And again, the target audience is probably going to be a millennial woman, right? Who's got kids of her own,
Yeah.
who's having bratty teenage issues as well.
Yeah.
That's the target audience. And with a movie like this, where the ambition is not great, it's that's you just kind of have to. It's like an Adam Sandler movie. You just kind of set yourself down here for a little bit. Not to that degree. Not to an that's a severe degree. But for this is like, it's similar in that way,
Okay.
right? And again, I don't mean to get all hoity-toity Reddit all over this thing. I embrace it for what it is, and I'll just stop right there. I'm embracing this for what this is. It's light, it's breezy, and it is at times pretty fun.
What say you, Joe?
Look, despite me making a couple sarcastic remarks and
You can
everything,
hate it. It's okay. Go hard. You don't have
no,
to.
no, 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 no. Despite me making those sarcastic remarks, I actually am like Dom. I actually had fun with this. I don't think it's amazing or great or good. But I just thought it was all right. Like I kind of just like went like, yeah, okay. Like that's literally like what I posted on my Letterboxd review just now because I was hiding it from Steve and everything, like I normally do. Usually I'll post them like an hour before the show or during the show. But like the movie literally ended. I had the whole theater to myself, by the way. It was so nice. I went to like the first show time on Saturday morning and nobody was there. Not even kids, nothing. I had the whole theater to myself. I just kind of sat there. I got to enjoy it. And then the movie ended and the guy came in to clean the theater and he looked at me and I was just looking at the credits go up and I went, yeah, okay. And I just got up and left. Like it's just breezy, I think is the best way to describe this. That's a perfect word you gave, Dom. And I do agree with you on this. I think Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are doing really good here. Lindsay Lohan, yeah, for sure. It's her getting back into the swing of things. This is like the first time she's really been the lead in a theatrical movie like this in a very long time. She made a cameo appearance in the Mean Girls musical that came out 2 or 3 years ago. But like I haven't seen her on the screen I don't know how long, since like 2007, I think was like the last movie I think I read on the trivia page for this that she did something in theaters for. And for the most part, especially working with Jamie Lee Curtis, who they've remained friends since filming that first one, I think it really helped her get back into the swing of things. And Jamie Lee, I mean, like, dude, like, ever since she came back from her retirement, I feel like she's been giving 110% with roles that she's been getting. From the Halloween movies to, and I know people are not fans of her winning the award for this movie, but I still think her performance in this is great. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Everyone, and yeah, sure, every once in a while she's in a movie like Borderlands or The Haunted Mansion. But for every one of those we get like 3 like performances that we see in The Bear on FX or the Halloween movies or just anything else that I'm like, damn, like, you know, this is why I'm glad Jamie Lee Curtis came back to acting, because she is that damn good. And it's just another instance of that. She's perfect in this role, honestly. Like, it's not like perfect as like, oh, she should win an Oscar. No, it's like she knows exactly what kind of movie she's in. Both her and Lindsay get that. And I feel like a lot of the writing for this movie very much hinges on their performances. And also it caters to them too, because they are the legacy characters. So the biggest laughs and everything I feel like come from them, because it's just like, oh, it's fun seeing, like, you know, them do this kind of stuff and everything. Now, I will say this. I do think it's a bit ridiculous sometimes, though, that, like, because I think the first movie does this pretty well. Like, they switch bodies, but it's not like they lose brain cells by switching bodies in this movie. People will switch bodies, and it's like, all right, like, you're not dumb. Like, you know how it is being an older person. Like, they're acting like, oh god, my back, what is this? Like, it's just like, okay, calm down. Like they hit every old person joke they can in like the first like body switch moments of this movie, and they keep coming back to it once in a while and everything. And even the young kids do it too. That is, you know, the characters Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are playing, which are Tess and Anna. Tess and Anna, like, when they go in the kids' bodies, like, that's their mindset and everything. I will say this. Like, again, they're making this stupid thing, but I don't mean to jump on young actors and everything, because, you know, they're still up and coming, but I think the 2 kids here are not that good. Anytime they're on...
Really?
Anytime they're on screen, I kind of just tuned out of the movie. That's not to say, like, you know, it's like it brought it down majorly for me. No, not at all. There was other things in this movie. I think Manny Jacinto's a lot of fun in this movie, especially that dance they're now using with him promoting, where he just like straight up just starts strutting his ass off and everything. I'm like, yeah, that was a pretty funny scene and everything.
He's a trained dancer. And,
oh yeah,
yeah.
And everything. But yeah, to boil it down, because I really got nothing really more to say. Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis are the reason to go see this movie, and it's the reason why I think people will actually have fun with this movie. Everything else is a toss-up. You might be like, I actually really like what the kids did, or you might like the other factors, that you might even like the overall story, which, I mean, because, you know, it's 4 people switching bodies now. That means all 4 people have a subplot and an arc to wrap up by the end of the movie and everything, and it's just like, all right, well, like, come on, man, like, you know, we could have done something else here, or maybe we could have done it in pairs of 2 or something. But for me, I had fun with it. I think it's fine for what it is. I will say, though, I was looking all over to confirm this or not. Maybe one of you guys can confirm it. But Dom, with you asking that question at the beginning, you know, Disney Channel original movies, do you think it's higher or right at it? I will say this. I do think Freakier Friday is a Disney Plus movie. Like, it's a Disney Plus movie. I think that came to theaters. That doesn't mean, like, sometimes that's fine, where, like, streaming movies are going to theaters and everything. It might be obvious by the way it's filmed and everything, and you know, we could kind of see it's cutting corners because it has a smaller budget. But I still had fun with it regardless.
Any time a movie can make it to theaters, I'm thankful for that alone.
That too, yeah.
But strategically, if there was ever a time to put a movie on Disney Plus only, it's this one.
Like, I couldn't find anywhere, but that Mean Girls musical, they said it from the get-go. Yeah, this was supposed to be on Paramount Plus, and it is obvious the longer that movie goes on. It's like, oh yeah, you could totally tell. Like, the way this is filmed, it was meant to be on streaming.
That's a shame.
The Freakier Friday did kind of, now that I think about it, take me back to a time when I'm like, this is something we would have reviewed on Sleepless during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, it very much has that kind of quality to it too. And it's hard to explain because this really isn't a quote unquote cheap movie either. It's $42 to $45 million production. So there is money behind this thing for sure.
Yeah.
I will say, just going, since we're butting up against intermission here, I'll just start kind of just by saying this. It's a quick point, but like I will say, Jamie Lee, you hit the nail on the head with Jamie Lee Curtis. She really is a treasure. She's wonderful. I like what you said too about how really since she's returned to acting, she has given it her all. Even of movies with varying quality, like she's 65 years. She's 66 now, but she was 65 when she made this movie.
She was the one who advocated for the sequel. She really pushed for it, to even producing credits on it as well, if you guys caught that.
Yeah, she did. She did give money to it too. There's a scene where her character Lily, Lily in her body, in Tessa's Jamie Lee Curtis' body.
Here he goes. Trying to keep up with it.
She does a photo shoot in a Walgreens. And while I didn't laugh, I was really amused by how Jamie Lee Curtis can still like throw herself into any situation, sort of regardless of absurdity, and make it like, it's not funny. I didn't laugh, but it was amusing. It was definitely like she was giving it her all. This wasn't a phoned in kind of thing. And I admire her. And I think she is the strongest part of the movie, her and Lindsay Lohan. There is somebody else I think is the strongest part of this movie that I will touch on when we come back from intermission. Do not go anywhere. This is Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. We will end the show by talking about this. Normally, for when we remember actors or directors or anybody associated with film or pop culture who have died, we start the show with it. But this one, on top of being shocking, I think there's more to unpack with this one than there is a lot of them. Because a lot of the time, especially recently, the people who have died have either been sick, like publicly sick, or they've been old enough to the point where it was more or less, as sad to say, expected, but no less sad. This death, as I said in opening the show, really floored me. Morgan Spurlock, the documentarian behind Super Size Me, most famously, the Oscar-nominated movie where Morgan Spurlock underwent the experiment of eating McDonald's 3 times a day for 30 days, passed away at the age of 53 after a private cancer battle. There's no other sort of development related to it. We don't know what kind of cancer it was. I think it would be almost cruel to speculate publicly, at least, but if that name has really escaped your mind over the last several years, nobody could blame you. Because and I wonder, because of how just much of a hurricane in itself the Me Too movement was. I don't think it got lost in the shuffle, but I do think it had I think it had very clear impact. And it was odd timing, too, for a career move. But in December 2017, just as Spurlock was getting ready to release Super Size Me 2, Holy Chicken. By the way, there is a Super Size Me sequel. Joe did not know that. A lot of people didn't know that either. A lot of people didn't know that. And this is probably why. Spurlock wrote a blog post. It was on Twitter. It was like on one of those sites like TwitDeck, or back when you could like write essays on Twitter on like a separate third-party site. It was right in the middle of the Me Too movement. And he came out and he basically admitted to like decades of sexual harassment of employees, misconduct of employees. He got accused of rape when he was in college. I mean, it was a damning self-admission and confession. Initially, I remember reading it, not only being shocked, but I remember reading it like thinking two things. I thought, like, is his next project going to tackle the Me Too movement, and he needs to get this out there in order to like absolve himself and like be completely transparent? Because and I'll talk more in a minute, but was always a documentarian where you didn't really know what was next. And that was one of the things I did admire about him as a filmmaker. But it completely killed his career. Super Size Me 2 got indefinitely delayed. YouTube Red was going to distribute it. They didn't. The movie didn't come out for another year, almost a year and a half. That release got canceled. He stepped down from his production company, Warrior Poets, and then that company folded. And he basically was never heard from again in the public sphere.
Yeah.
Super Size Me 2 had a super low key release in like September of 2019. Clearly, I feel like I'm the
Wow,
only
2019?
2019. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It came out a year and a half after it was supposed to come out. And again, evidently nobody paid attention to it besides me. But basically that completely annihilated his career. And the next time you basically heard about him was when he died 7 years later, last week. One of the things, and he's got obviously with just that, he's got a complicated legacy. But looking at him as a documentarian, first off, Super Size Me was oddly one of my favorite movies as a kid. And I can't, I rewatched it late on Saturday night. I rewatched it, which is probably like the 15th time I've seen it. I can quote a documentary. That's how many times I've seen it. The thing about it was, I think what captivated me, I mean, number one, McDonald's wins every kid's heart over. When I was like 9 when the thing came out and saw it. McDonald's wins every kid over. Number two, the movie had a banger soundtrack.
It did.
So much so they released an OST of it.
Nice.
Like and I have the fucking soundtrack too. That's how much I loved it. I love the soundtrack of the movie. And the other thing I guess I forgot to mention too was about that essay he released, was the fact that Back and better than ever. It's Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube. We're talking Freakier Friday. Was kind of just talking about how Jamie Lee Curtis, the movie didn't impress me, but she impressed me, and Lindsay Lohan too, who's got, it's easy to forget because we don't see her too much anymore, but she's got this real like sunny disposition, and I'm grateful that she's found the peace in life that she's long desired, because she was a tabloid fixture for so many years. I remember there was one movie she did in the early 2010s. It was that inappropriate comedy. You could actually see, look it up. You could actually see her ankle bracelet, her ankle monitor on her when she was shooting the movie.
I've heard about this.
Wait,
yeah.
which movie?
It's called Inappropriate Comedy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The one directed by the ShamWow guy. But anyway, it is great to see. It is great to see Lohan and Curtis back, even if the movie around them isn't that great. I do disagree with Joe though. I thought the teen girls were good. I did. I liked, and this is what sucked about the body swapping thing. I really liked Harper, Julia Butters' character. I liked her character. I just thought she's playing, it's not a revolutionary like archetype of a, moody teenage girl, but I'm like, she plays it really well.
Yeah.
I'm like, she just plays it really well. And I thought they did well. I really did. I thought that they were two of the more dynamic parts of the movie, though. My main criticism with this thing, it's not really anything revolutionary or anything, but my biggest problem with this movie, it's just not very funny. I didn't laugh a whole lot with this thing. Far too many jokes land with a thud. And what also shocked me too, nobody's outright bad in this movie, but it's funny how I remember some more of the side characters and their involvement with the story than I do the core four. I'll give you an example too. I think the person who has the best, outside of maybe Jamie Lee Curtis as just, the performer, who I think makes great use of her 4 minutes is the psychic Vanessa Bayer. I thought she was very funny. I thought she was very funny, especially in Starbucks, that scene in Starbucks too. I thought she was very funny. I think she's like the right amount of quirky for the role. I liked Stephen Tobolowsky as the teacher from the first movie too. I thought he was funny. Especially when he takes the detention class outside and everything. I thought he had some good lines. And I liked X Mayo as the principal too, who I kind of was hoping would come back at the end. But she didn't. The one who gets caught in the food fight.
Yeah. There was one, I think she had the funniest lines, which were throwaway lines seemingly, but they were the funniest. Like when they're driving up to the school at the very beginning, it's like, every table at the bake sale must have a gluten-free option, a peanut-free option, a something free option. And she just keeps going and then gets cut off by the returning dialogue. I thought that was a really, really funny throwaway gag. And she just keeps listening for like 4 things in a row, and probably would have kept going.
And I know it's probably been a while, maybe not Mean Girls, but I know it's probably been a while since we've seen a lot of these movies. Thankfully, this is where I had Catherine to help me out here. Because I did catch one of the bigger Mean Girls references in the movie is that really quickly on Lindsay Lohan's phone, her wedding date is October 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest callbacks to Mean Girls right there too. Apparently, I've seen this movie. I don't remember much about it. Catherine informed me there was quite a few outfit callbacks to Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. I forgot about that movie. I did see it at one point, but I forgot about it. And there's also a couple Parent Trap references too. Her co-star from Parent Trap's in this thing too. Her co-star's in it. Who I'm trying to remember her name. She is in it though. I can't remember off the top of my head who she is. I think it's Elaine Hendricks, actually. I think it's Elaine Hendricks. She plays Blake Kale in the film. She is in that too. But they're not overly obvious callbacks. They're kind of subtle enough that if you catch them, they make you smile. That kind of was like the replacement of humor for me in this thing, was that like, okay, I don't know if it's really I guess it is fan service, the Lindsay Lohan cinematic universe, but like it's subtle enough that it didn't like interrupt the plot too much.
It was cute to see. I caught the October 3rd thing too. I didn't catch the other stuff you pointed out too, but I did see lists in like Twitter threads of like other Easter eggs that are in this movie. It is cute that it's like, hey, this is the first time that Lindsay's been back theatrically in such a long time. And there's just little Easter eggs of like, actually how much of a career she really did have growing up and everything, from movies like Parent Trap to Mean Girls to just other ones as well.
Yeah, so I was happy that stuff that was included didn't feel like a complete distraction or anything like that. You know, I was trying to see like her last, like Lindsay Lohan's last like major movie. She had a cameo in Mean Girls, the musical, last year. She had a really brief cameo in that. But like theatrically speaking, it's been a minute. She was in that.
Was a Netflix Christmas. Too. Was that a Netflix Christmas comedy?
Yeah, there was what is it? Our Little Wish or Our Little Secret? Excuse me. There was that one that was last year too. That I think is the one you're referring to, Dom.
I think it's
Falling for Christmas is the other one that she did.
I think it's I Know Who Killed Me, that horror film. The whodunit horror film. It's either that or The Holiday with Jack Black.
Yeah, that was her last major theatrical lead role. Was I Know Who Killed Me.
Yeah.
And then the other, and because she had bit parts in, again, Inappropriate Comedy, Scary Movie 5, but she was just playing herself.
Yeah.
You know, she was just playing herself.
Even on like TV shows, like she makes an appearance in Glee, and she's just playing herself.
Sneaky good one though, I will say, for Lindsay Lohan. Since again, we have not. I don't think of an instance we've talked about her on the show. Sneaky good Lindsay Lohan movie came out in 2009. I remember it was a direct-to-DVD movie that premiered on ABC Family. It was Labor Pains. That was a sneaky good movie. That was a movie, I think they wanted it, if I remember correctly, I think they wanted it to go to theaters, or they conceived it to be a theatrical movie. But then I think it was just a combination of factors then and stuff that they wound up bringing it to ABC Family instead. I'm stunned to see the fucking thing has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 5 critic ratings. So it's really not like the hugest pool. But I'm like, damn, I enjoyed that movie. That movie was kind of fun. But yeah, like I'm kind of with you too. I don't have as much to say as I thought I would on this movie. I think
it's not horrible where we can go off on that.
No, it's not surprisingly great like Minecraft, where it gave us so much to chew on, and it's not offensively bad. Like I'll give you a sequel example. Easy. No, it's not offensively bad like Zoe 102. Where I could really like rip into this thing limb by limb. It's like perfectly good or okay even. I will say though, it is nice. We talked about it during our Naked Gun review, Dom and I did. That we don't get many comedies for a multitude of different factors in theaters anymore. It's kind of nice to see something like this, even as I wasn't in love with this thing, and I do think it's too goddamn long too. But
yeah, no, if there's a big critique I had, after seeing Naked Gun being only 80 minutes, I was like, why the hell didn't you guys try to do the same?
Well, this should have been 94 minutes.
Yeah.
This should have been an email. You know what I mean? Like, but Yeah, it was kind of nice to see something like this in the theaters because it's like bubbly, it's effervescent, it's for kids, it's for adults too. We don't see a lot of these like PG live action Disney movies, like anymore, that don't involve like Stitch or something
Especially
like
yeah,
that.
especially since Disney Plus came out. Like these typically didn't come out from Disney anymore. They just got thrown onto the app, or I don't know if Disney Channel originals are even a thing anymore since Disney Plus came out. So I really just think like yeah,
That's a good
any
point.
like live action like family films like this, it's just gonna be on Disney Plus.
It does get relegated to the app then. Yeah, because I mean there was that like cheaper by the dozen reboot that would have went to theaters if it was
Oh
10 years
yeah.
ago. I didn't watch it, but there was that cheaper by the dozen reboot that would have went to theaters if it was
I think there's a Night at the
2012.
Museum one too.
Yeah, and there was a Lady and the Tramp. There was that one. Like all this stuff I feel like that would have come to theaters had streaming not been a thing, now just gets kind of dumped on Disney Plus and is invisible. And in some
Yeah.
case, I mean some cases, I don't know if any of the movies we just named are real winners. But in some cases it's probably good. Artemis Fowl. But
Mm.
in other cases I think like, I don't know. I waffle back and forth between this thing because it's like I didn't love it watching it, but like talking about it again, I'm like, it's not terrible. It really isn't. It's not as bad as Good Burger 2 or Zoe 102. It's not that bad. The fucking floor is so low for these things too. That like, I mean, we just talked about it less than a month ago. It's not Happy Gilmore 2 level atrocious with its cameos and everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like Happy Gilmore 2 AI slop. So that's a positive, I suppose. But I guess we should parlay into closing thoughts here. This is a strange review. I'll say that much. I'm still trying to remember who's who and who's she in the movie, too. Um, but I'll go with you, Dom, if you want to start closing thoughts on this.
Yeah, it really is exactly what came out to be. And this is where you get into the like Ebert, you know, line of thinking where it's like, hey, do I judge an Adam Sandler movie well for being exactly what it wants to be, which is an Adam Sandler movie? And then like he'd oscillate between back and forth, right? But for me, I think I go in line with no, this movie is exactly who it's meant for, right? I'm not comparing this to the effing Godfather or Schindler's List. No, this is Freakier Friday. Is it nostalgia bait? Absolutely. And there's multiple scenes that make it strive in that general direction. But you know what? For a movie of its type, I think I just have to be kind of nice here and give it a 2.5 out of 4 stars. I'm actually surprised by that. But putting it out there and it's like, yeah, what feeling did I come out of this? Pretty dang good.
Joe, what say you?
For me, this is not as bad as something like it's actually a National Treasure movie, not Night at the Museum. National Treasure. They made like a third one or something exclusively for Disney Plus, and it has some of the returning characters and everything and whatnot. It's not as bad as that, where it's like that came out and it was just a total shit show and everything. But it's not as good as something like Mary Poppins Returns, where it's like Disney is like, hey, we're bringing back this big character. It's sort of a sequel to Mary Poppins. I don't even think like that movie's all that great either, but it's like you can tell like a lot of care went into making that adaptation, making a sequel to that. Like a lot of care went into that. This is like caught in the middle between those two. It's like in some cases I really did enjoy like where it was going with playing the fact that it is a sequel to Freaky Friday and how they're gonna play around with it. And in other cases I'm like, yeah, this is just typical sequel BS, and it really doesn't have a script here, and they're just kind of like the jokes here aren't really landing and everything. I know you liked the young kid characters. For me, they were kind of just there just because they had to be for the story and everything. Really, it's Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan that were really carrying this for me throughout the whole thing. Had it not been for the runtime, I probably would give this 3 stars. But because like the runtime went on too long and some of the other critiques I had about it, and the fact that it's not terrible, it's not bad, but it's not like I'm like glowing about it or anything. It's kind of just the literal middle star rating that we have, which is 2.5 out of 4 stars for me as well.
Okay, you nailed it, Joe.
Joe,
Joe, you want to explain?
Yeah, no, I told Dom in the green room, I was like, hey, I'm like, dude, I think you and I are going to end up on the same rating here. I think you and I walked out of this on the same. I wrote down, oh, shit, hold on. I wrote down my star rating to, like, tell Dom, too. 2.5.
I see it, yeah.
You can even see the bad star when I was like, crap,
Yeah.
I suck at drawing stars. Because, like, Dom was like, I was like, I don't know, maybe we'll be, like, a half a star off. I'm like, no, I think we're on the money right now with each other.
Sticking with my star rating, and I'll stick with mine. I gave it 2 out of 4 stars. I think, like I said, it's amusing. I think it starts well. I really do. I think it starts well. It's nice to see these characters again. I think the convolution that's kind of brought on by 4 characters switching bodies is really confusing at first and sort of negates a little bit of kind of the breezy fun, because there was no like double guessing in Freaky Friday. You knew who was who, once they switch bodies. Here it gets a little bit more complicated. Now you got 2 different plot threads that are like, kind of parallel with one another. There's a lot going on. Kind of reminded me in a weird way too. In a weird way, you know how it ends with that concert, or the climax kind of ends with that concert put on by I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name. Her character's name is Ella. I'm not even going to I'm not even going to attempt that name. I'm butchering that. But the thing is, though, it kind of reminded me of the end of Rat Race. Do you guys remember the end of the movie Rat Race?
It was All-Star, right?
It was Smash Mouth. The fucking thing, just like the movie barely gets. It's such the Abram Zucker move. The conflict barely gets resolved. Then the credits start rolling, and Smash Mouth starts singing All Star at a concert, and the cast dances, and it kind of reminded me of that like same spirit, So I'm like that's where the aughts vibe of this movie, the early aughts vibe of this movie, I think is the strongest. Is just kind of in its structure. It's good to see Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. I think almost by their presence, it's very hard to be too negative on this thing. But I don't think it's particularly memorable. I don't. But it's not the disaster I was worrying it to be, because I was not particularly encouraged after that trailer. I really wasn't. I was not particularly encouraged. So the fact that this thing isn't a total bust for me is somewhat of a win in itself.
That is true. I remember sending the trailer to the chat, and I said, this is going to be agony.
Yeah, I'm like, this looks rough now already, but it's not terrible. It's not memorable. I give it 2 out of 4 stars. I'm the most negative of the bunch here. And we get out right on time, even after we started a little bit late too. So that's what I call an efficient show. That's what I call an efficient show. The Naked Gun of Sleepless with Steve episodes right here. Next week, though, it's just Dom and I. We are going to be reviewing Mike Leigh's Hard Truths. Very much looking forward to this. This is one we've kind of kept in the the ether, if you will. One of those weeks that we weren't going to have like a conventional review, or there wasn't much out. You know what? I just realized too during this show. You know what I thought we could review, but I didn't put it on the schedule because I didn't know what kind of release it's going to get. And sure enough, it's not out by me. I don't know if it's out by you guys. You know what I just realized too comes out this weekend is Honey Don't. The loose.
Yeah, I want to see that.
The loose sequel to Drive Away Dolls.
Okay.
That's out this weekend. That's not near me though. That's not near me.
Okay.
Unfortunately, if I would have called an audible had it been, but that's not out here the week. And Drive Away Dolls was a fun discussion too. Feels like that movie came out like 6 months ago, doesn't it? Feels like that thing came out just like 6 months ago, and now there's already a sequel. But at any rate, we'll keep tabs on that if there is interest to review that. But Hard Truths next week, kind of doubling back on a movie that's now available to watch on Showtime, available to rent on multiple platforms. One that I saw that really stuck out with me earlier this year that I wanted to review on the show with these gentlemen. And I got one of them at least. Joe's off next weekend, but he will rejoin us, though, very, very soon, no less. I greatly appreciate you hosting, as always. Dom, it's great to have you back, too. We come to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening. This is Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube.